Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Aidan.
I'm Gaynor.
I'm Sophie.
And today, we've got 5 ways British and American meal etiquette is very different. This was a request from Gaynor.
Yeah.
It was.
It was.
She was telling us a bit of a story, so we
Yeah,
thought,
so
why not?
what I found when we lived in the US, we used to go to a lot of friends' homes,
Okay.
and everybody says grace.
Everyone.
Well, everybody that
You knew.
yeah, said grace. And it was, you know, some were a lot longer and in depth, and some were just quite, you know, thank you for the food we're about to receive.
I've
Let's
never been in a situation where I've had to do that. Or
Well, you have, you just don't remember.
Oh really?
When you were
When I was like,
baby.
how do you not remember when you were 3 months old, Aidan? Come on now.
No.
You forget everything.
No, but when you were like 2 and 3, and we used to go to people's homes, it would normally be quick, you know, so the children could go off and play after eating.
I'm not going to remember anything from when I was 2, 3
No.
years old. Come on now. Do you remember stuff from when you were 2, 3 years old?
I remember everything because I had a
Okay.
very traumatic childhood.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's the next video.
Yeah, anyway, let's take a look at this. 5 ways British and American meal etiquette is very different. Lost in the pond again.
It is.
Legend.
Yeah.
If they hear your accent and you are American, their ears might prick up a bit thinking, here comes a payday. Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to how we eat, dining etiquette. It's so important, especially when you're meeting your American family for the first time. I'm not talking from experience, maybe just a bit. Cultural differences around the dinner table don't just come down to the words we use, like chips versus fries, or the dishes that we serve. So, you know, America's pecan pie versus Britain's spotted dick. And that is an actual dessert, okay? Look it up, just not on your work computer. But it's also about some of the mechanisms that we use to get it into our mouths. I'm still talking about food. And also some of the customs and politeness norms that comes with the process of eating. And so without further crab rangoon, here are 5 ways that British and American eating etiquette is very, very different. Whether you call it cutlery, like we do in Britain, or silverware or flatware, or in this case plasticware, because, you know, we are rationing, we can all agree that
Silverware?
Yeah.
If you said silverware to me, I would see that as a trophy. That's
Silver that you wear.
So if I said to you, Aidan, please lay the table with the silverware.
I wouldn't. I would just get the idea that you mean that. But if you said like, if you just said the word silverware to me, it means trophy to me.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of, not now, but years and years ago, a wedding gift for my wedding from my grandparents, I got a silverware set.
Yeah, they used to.
You mean cutlery set?
It was cutlery, but it was silver. It was solid. Well, it wasn't solid silver. It was probably silver plated. No, my grandparents. But
the thought was there.
it was one of those. But it was one of those things that because it was so fancy, we only used it at Christmas
Oh Jesus.
and Easter. And then it was there for like 20 odd years, and you had to hand wash it so you can put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
So it never got used. So at some point I said, right, enough's enough. Let's just use it as we would normally.
Yeah.
Put it in the dishwasher, and now it's all upstairs in the kitchen because it's all tarnished.
In
Yeah.
office kitchen.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So if you see that fancy knives and forks that look like they've got rust on them, that's
Oh. I used one. Oh. I'm joking.
that without them, meal times would be very, very messy, especially in America where they put sauce on everything. But the real question is, how do we hold them? And this was part of my existential crisis after I moved to the United States, because I grew up learning the European style, or as it might be known here, the continental style. And when I say that, I'm referring to what is the official utensil etiquette, right? As opposed to the official American
I
etiquette.
think you eat the wrong way round, don't you? It's in the left hand it's the fork, and in the right hand it's the knife.
I do that.
You do? I thought that you did the knife.
No, I definitely hold the fork with my left and cut with my right.
That's
But he's holding
the knife in the left and the fork in the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I eat my fork would be in my right, and my knife
I
would be
just
in
use
my
my
left.
hands.
Really? I'm trying to think. Actually, I don't know.
No, just think like if someone
I
was in
actually
front of you and
can't
you
think
cut it,
now.
I put it like that.
When you set the table, you have large knife, large fork, large knife, and then smaller fork and smaller knife. and then the two
Little
spoons.
spoon, big spoon.
Yeah.
I mean, I just have one fork, one knife, one spoon. Me, do you know what I mean?
You just have a spoon and use it for everything.
Just wipe it with a napkin onto from appetizer to main.
Soup, ice cream.
Yeah, all dipping into it at once.
Did you find though that like cutlery size, like what you eat with, affects the taste?
Oh my days, no. I love using like really small cutlery.
I will use a
size.
teaspoon.
Yeah,
I
use a teaspoon for cereal, anything.
Yeah, for cereal, for dessert.
Yeah.
I can't use a big spoon because it actually tastes weird.
No, I always use a little spoon for anything.
I do. It keeps the flavour.
I can't eat soup unless it's a soup spoon.
So if it's like a massive spoon, I can do, my friend.
No.
But I always have a little spoon. Have you never noticed that?
I have noticed that.
Yeah.
I just thought you were a weirdo anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Etiquette, and I'm going to show you, I think anyway, some of the differences. I personally don't have either etiquette completely down because, in my wife's words, I still eat like a toddler. But it mostly comes down to how we hold the fork. In Britain, you hold it kind of like that, I think. So you've got it, the end of it's touching your palm, and then you sort of grasp it.
Right. I don't think anyone's ever taught me a way to hold a fork. I just hold it the way it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Like that.
But at the same time, I probably would put my finger at that top part of the fork. Or I'll just hold it like a pen. But I definitely didn't learn a way to hold like a European way to hold a fork. I just hold it like however it's comfortable for me.
Yeah, but as a child, you will have been given the knife and the fork to hold, and
I'm honestly thinking
you could with chopsticks.
I'm alright. I can use
chopsticks
to a certain extent.
more than I can do. I've never tried even holding them ever.
In the States, when you're very young and you go,
You put rubber band around
yeah,
it.
they give all the children
yeah.
chopsticks, and then they put like a rubber band around the end, so it's they just do that.
So you can just
So it's
kind of grip
literally
it.
just like
yeah.
tweezers.
I'd need that now at my age.
With your thumb and your pointy finger, and it's there for pointing downward, right? And you stick it into the potatoes or the strawberries or the spotted dick. And notice it's in my left hand. That's going to be important in a moment. And in the other hand, you have your knife, right? Usually like this, with the pointy finger right there, and it's touching your palm again. So consistent on both hands, right? It's almost an extension of you. You're almost Wolverine, but from the United Kingdom or Europe. And then you do this, right? Usually at a lower level. You wouldn't be able to see it because my arms are off screen now, so I'll put them back there. And then you cut into the potatoes or the strawberries or the creamy spotted dick. It can come with custard. That's normal. And voila, and put it in your mouth. There's nothing on this. This isn't that scene in Hook where they eat invisible food. It goes this way round, right, with the tines facing downward toward your tongue. In America, it's quite a bit different, right? So people will hold their fork like this, with the tines facing upward. In other words, to kind of scoop up the food, right? So they'll do that, and actually sometimes, not every time, I mean, I'm sure there are people that circumvent all of the things you hear in this very list, but sometimes Americans won't even use a knife, right? You'll just see them scoop something up, maybe a potato, we won't go through the entire list again, put it in their mouth. If they want to cut up things in that way, sometimes I'll do it with the fork, right? Don't recommend it with plastic forks. You know, you can get through these pretty quickly if you do that. But if they do use a knife, they may turn the fork like this into the potato and then cut like that. You've got it there, you turn it back around, it's in your gob, and there you go. Bob's your uncle, you've got potatoes. And, you know, that's what a lot of Americans do. My father-in-law, though, did this. He had it like that.
I just think it depends what you're eating, really. Like, if I'm eating rice, I'll have my fork scooping it up like that, like the American way.
Yeah, you'd have to, wouldn't you, with rice?
I would have my chopsticks.
With rice?
Well, you are.
Eating one individual rice?
No, I'm very good with chopsticks with rice.
Oh, well, you know.
But yeah, as a child, I was taught to eat correctly. Now, I'm probably more American in that I very rarely use a knife, and I use my fork in the right hand, and just, you know, with the side of it, break it off.
You use your fork with your right hand?
Yeah.
I use it with my left.
Yeah, if you had a knife and fork.
Oh, if I had a fork, just a fork, I'd still use my left.
You would. With your left hand.
With your left hand, yeah. Whereas I was thinking like he's done it with his left hand, but he's probably right-handed. But I'd use my right hand.
But it's weird because I use my right hand in so much other things as well.
sport.
Like if I'm using the mouse on here, I'd use my right hand.
Oh yeah. What are you? I'm
Ambidextrous.
Yeah, so like the only time I really use my left hand is for eating and writing. Anything else is my right hand. It's a bit weird. I get it from my mother.
Yes.
And like that, he'd turn it that way, and then like that. It sort of looked, I should tell you that my in-laws were cavemen, but it was through those very cavemen / dear relatives of my wife that I was first introduced to our next entry. Yes, saying grace. This one is quite a tough entry in many ways because, in order to talk about it, I do have to somewhat generalise. And also, I don't have much data to back up what I'm about to say. It's more observationally driven, right? So when I lived in England for 27 years of my life, I don't say that with disdain, it was a good time. But in all that time, I don't really remember sitting down to a dinner function of any kind and really sort of saying grace beforehand. In other words, kicking off the meal with a sort of faith-based thanks. Now, part of that, and again, this is where the generalisation comes in, so bear with me, but in England, we tend to be less sort of like publicly open or just sort of even privately open, if you can be, among your family members about your religious beliefs. Whereas in the United States, I think people are more sort of proud of that, whatever their religious faith is. And so sometimes in some families, and this again could be regional, so I might well be generalizing, but some families, including the extended relatives that I married into, I didn't marry them, I married into the family. Some families, and I gather maybe quite a lot of families here in the United States, particularly at special events like Thanksgiving or maybe even a homecoming of some kind, will sort of say grace before the meal, and there'll usually be one family member who stands up and says it on behalf of the entire group, and then you say amen and go about your way. For me, it was quite weird at first, I think. Now, I'm very respectful of other people's religious beliefs. I didn't really know what to do except just sort of sit there and then wait for it to be done, and then, because I had half a mind on the turkey. So what are you going to do? And because I'm generalising here, it's important for me to say that this is my experience. I'd be very interested to hear other people's experiences, other Europeans' experiences of coming here and maybe having to say grace when they're not used to it, or, Americans that don't themselves practice this. I've also heard it can go one step further here where the whole family holds hands. I definitely draw the line at that, especially right now. The best way that I can put this for British people watching back home is, in football when somebody dies and they have a minute's silence within the stadium, and then when the minute's silence is up, they all erupt in applause and all of that. It's kind of like that, minus the applause, it's just an amen. But the energy after that is great because you all want to tuck into your food. And because the energy is so good, that leads us on to our next entry.
Yeah, I don't think you could have explained that better for me, really, at the end of that.
It's really, I remember the first time that I had to do it.
Because it's so true, that.
And I was absolutely mortified. I was like, what do I say? Gaynor, would you like to say grace?
What did you say?
Grace.
Who's Grace?
Yeah. I actually remember what I said. I said, thank you for this food that we're about to receive. Amen.
About to receive? It's probably already there in front of you.
Are we about to eat?
Well, that's what we used to have to say at school. When we were at school, when we were in infant school, the teacher used to say, thank you for the food we're about to...
Were they Thai or something? Were they Asian?
Thank you for the food we're about to receive, and then we all started eating.
Did they?
Yeah, it was a bit like a scene from Oliver Twist.
I was thinking that, I was just about to say
you're walking up, please, I can have some more.
No.
Oh, I don't mind a bit of chatter and exceptionally weird noises. And at an American dinner table, you're going to get a lot of chatter. Usually, again, this is another generalisation, but on the whole, this is my experience. And I'm one of those people who doesn't think that Americans are always loud, as the stereotype dictates. But one exception tends to be in restaurants, right? I do hear the volume go up there as compared to Britain, where it feels like we're always battling with this war within ourselves to not air our dirty laundry in public. I'm not saying we don't talk at dinner tables, don't get me wrong. It feels observationally, once again, and again, there's no data on this. There's not somebody going around measuring the decibels in every restaurant in either country, especially right now because they're all closed. But that's my general experience of it. Now, I could be getting thrown off course a little bit here because, you know, my wife's family are really loud. Don't tell them I said that, although this is a public video. They know it's true. I've told them before, and that's why we've not spoken in a year. But here in America, you might be in a restaurant, sitting down with just one other person, trying to have a quiet, intimate conversation. And to your right, there's this really loud family with a 5-year-old running around with a stupid hat on that he got from the restaurant, right? So they're further enhancing the volume of said family. And then on the other side, there's clearly what is a date happening. And the woman is just sitting there quietly, looking quite glum, while the man very audibly and haphazardly talks about all of the Fortune 500 companies he's worked for. And she stares into space, presumably thinking of all the ways that she can get out of there. But on the other hand, once you do get used to that sort of raised volume, it does add to the atmosphere, you know. And if you're already in a good mood and you enter somewhere where, you know, thousands, oh, that's a huge restaurant, hundreds maybe, where there's lots of people and they're in a good mood and it just sort of bounces off the walls, you know. But speaking of restaurants, that brings us on to our next entry. Servers. My heart does go out to all of the servers and anybody else to whom this applies around the world who can't go into work right now. And a huge thank you to delivery servers who are able to keep people fed who might need it. But, you know, back in peacetime when the restaurants were still open, there was quite a marked difference between, you know, British servers and American servers and the way they sort of conduct themselves at the dinner table while you're eating your dinner. In Britain, they're quite standoffish, and I know that's just a trait of British people in general, I get that, but they don't have the incentive, which we'll talk about in a minute, to constantly be coming back to your table and seeing how you're doing, checking if you need a refill on that water, because you probably won't get one anyway. I'm joking, of course you'll get a free refill on your water, just nothing else. Often, know this, if you want their attention, you're going to have to get their attention yourself, and that includes when it comes time to pay the bill. Whereas in the United States, and each restaurant has its different policy on this, you know, the waiting staff will come to your table every 5 minutes usually just to see how you're doing, and it seemingly doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a seriously...
That would annoy me.
I'd literally have to say to them, excuse me, you've already asked me however many times, I just want to be left alone.
Really?
I don't like it when they come over and say, how's your food for you?
No, it's
if
always
it was
when you've just
bad,
taken a mouthful.
It's just the way it is. Have you not... over here though, like if you go in TGI Fridays...
Yeah, they'll come once maximum.
Yeah, they'll come over once.
After you've like had your first few bites of your food, they'll come over and say, is everything alright for you? And
well, you've got a mouthful of food.
Again. I know, yeah, always when you've got a mouthful of food.
Yeah. There's a restaurant over here, I won't say the name of it.
Oh, bait him out, do it!
Where he comes over, he has a chat with you, he says, how's everything going? All good. Takes your order, brings your order. As you start eating, he comes over. Everything good with the food? Yeah. Then he'll sit and start talking to you while you're eating.
No.
Yeah. I've actually stopped going there. We don't go anymore. But yeah, he used to actually sit down at the side of you and start chatting.
I'm trying to think what restaurant this could be.
I'm sure you've told me about this before. I feel like I might.
Yeah. And I used to say to Darren, that's so rude. Like
so rude.
That's the thing though, like every culture's different, isn't it? Like as to what is.
Is this person English that like sits down and has a chat with you and stuff now?
No, that's the thing. Yeah. So it's
you probably think he's being really polite.
Exactly.
I think he was
really
just bored.
friendly.
It was like there's never anybody in there apart from us.
Oh.
So I think he just thought, I'll just have a chat.
Yeah. Oh.
One-sided conversation about the Fortune 500 companies you've worked for, they will still come over and go, hey, what's up? How's that tenderloin working out for you? And there are a couple of big reasons, I think, that American serving staff do this. Firstly, the company often dictates it. It's seen as a kind of data-driven way of, having good customer service. But having good customer service could well dictate this. Have they tried antifreeze with that? No. Well, he might go back to his milk phase eventually. Yeah. So the dreaded tip, or at least it was dreaded to me when I first moved to America, actually, when I landed at Philadelphia Airport. This is the first time I remember having to sort of navigate the American tipping system because I bought a drink at a bar at that very airport. And having bought the Jack Daniels, or 6, I'm not a good flyer. I turned to the gentleman next to me and I asked him, how does tipping work? And, you know, he very, very kindly offered, well, whatever the amount is on your receipt, just give them 85% of that. And that's about good. That's standard. That was a lie. And I ended up almost bankrupt. Firstly, in the United States, regardless of the amount, it's very much expected that you do tip because that's basically how servers make their wage. And the standard amount that you're expected to tip is the complete opposite of 85%. It's 15%, right? But if you thought it was good service, or just to be sort of a good person, really, you can definitely tip more than that. I typically tip. Just try saying that after 6 whiskeys. I did that night. I typically tip, particularly if I'm on a trip, 20%, or, you know, I might even round up to 21 if it kind of requires it. Tipping of some kind is expected here. In the UK, if you're thinking of going there, firstly, don't do that right now, but, you know, if after all this blows over, you are fancying going to the UK, then you're not required to tip at all, right? I mean, people get paid a sort of living wage, more or less, for being a server in the UK. It's good practice. You know, if you want to do that, you certainly can. 10% is recommended. And, you know, growing up in the UK, I never really did tip all that often, I must say. I think if I were to live there now, I probably would do so a bit more. It's not expected. I mean, servers aren't going to expect you to tip. Although, if they hear your accent and you are American, their ears might prick up a bit thinking, here comes a payday, right? Whereas it's the other way round here. As soon as servers hear a British accent, they must be filled with dread. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe servers hear a British accent and think, he's ripe for manipulation. You know, I've had some bad experiences. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me today. And, you know, it's kind of sad that I couldn't practice a lot of these things for the video.
I tip quite, like, not often, but I'll tip a little. Like, if I go out for dinner, I'd probably leave a tip.
Yeah, well, if you notice now, most bills put a tip.
Service charge.
Yeah,
on,
you put an automatic one on.
If they put an automatic one on, I don't normally leave an additional tip unless it's somewhere that I go regularly and they look after you.
Yeah.
If they don't put one on, then I would always tip.
I'd always tip if it's like the same person serving me the whole time.
Yeah. A lot of the places split them anyway. They split.
Yeah, that's why you don't get tips.
Yeah. Like, it really annoys me when I go to where I go to get my nails done.
Ooh.
So one person does my nails, one person does my eyebrows, one person then does a pedicure, and then
Fancy.
But then...
And then the other person puts the cucumbers on my eyes.
But then I have to tip them all individually, but they actually split the bill anyway. So now I just add an amount
charge.
An amount on top of it, and then they just
and then
split
it splits. That's a lot better.
Probably the easiest way, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I feel bad because I think the girl that took 5 minutes to do my eyebrows and the one that's took an hour to do my feet should get more.
Yeah.
So we'll be living in it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.